Everybody to the 17th. Welcome to the 17th class of the Bhagavad Gita study series. So we have covered 10 shlokas in the chapter 4 on Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. As usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarampam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage, starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati. So with that, we will continue where we left last time. Okay. So we did 10th shloka, but we'll do again. So first, to give a big picture, tying everything together, there is a sequence that is followed in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is happening for a reason, and it may not be obvious to us. So it may look like everything is very disparate. So there are so many texts on Bhagavad Gita. Some professors, they write it, all kinds of people translate. But unless you follow a traditional interpretation, a lot of the aspects will get missed, which is why you shouldn't go to a Sanskrit dictionary and just look at the word by word translation. And even I told you, so ajaha ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san. Ajaha means unborn, ja means birth, jati, birth. Ajah Janma, it's all Jah is birth. Ajaha means unborn. Ajaha can also mean goat. So which word would you use? So Sanskrit is a live language. Even we've seen Atma means self. Self can mean many things. It can mean the consciousness. It can mean the mind-body complex, everything. So it can just mean the mind. Some places it can mean the intellect. So it's you have to interpret it based on the context. And in this class, we will see Krishna, it may look like he is um, putting something down and praising something here, then praising another thing there. So it may seem very disparate, but there is a reason for this. It is called, we'll soon see that Nahi Ninda Nyayam, which just means it looks like criticism of something to praise something else. We saw that he was as though seemingly criticizing sannyasa, renunciation, to praise, to glorify the life of a householder, grihastha. So Krishna hits his way of it's uplifting the common man. Otherwise, the common person, they'll say, "Oh, all these Upanishads, they're all overhead transmission. I cannot understand, so I give up totally." This is where Krishna comes in, has compassion for the common person, and uplifts, not just uplifts, he glorifies the common person by doing all this. Okay, so the 10th shloka, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mam Upashritaha Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Matbhavamagataha. So Bhagavan is talking about avatara, right? He's talking about his avatara, and it just happens because Arjuna asks the question. You're telling this knowledge is very ancient. You taught it to sun, God, all that. How you were just born now? These people were so long before you. And then Bhagavan reveals avatara. Whenever there's a destruction of dharma, he comes to uplift dharma. So Vita Raga, how does somebody attain Ishvara? So that he is telling here. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, free from Raga craving, Bhaya fear, Krodha anger, Man Maya. Okay, Man Maya here means totally absorbed in me. So we've probably heard the term Anandamaya Kosha, which means Anandamaya means full of bliss. Like that, Manmaya means totally absorbed in me. Upashritaha, taking refuge. Bahavo, many people, Jnana Tapasa, by purified through study, knowledge, study of scriptures. Puta means purified. Mad Bhavam Agata, they've attained my nature. So this he describes the stages for attaining Ishvara. Manmaya, total absorption, intense yearning for this higher, something higher than us. Mam upashritaha, taking refuge in me. Then jnana tapasa, uh, purified through austerity of knowledge, studying scriptures regularly and in a disciplined way. So the first one, manmaya, means it's mumukshutvam, an intense yearning to get liberated, free of all this pain. And then maham upashrita and jnana tapasa, refuge and tapas through knowledge. Then Bhagavan, it's a very important shloka. He says, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanuvartante manushyak partha sarvashaha. So Bhagavan here says, in whichever way people worship me, whatever way people worship me, I bless them in that way. Oh Partha, people follow my path in many ways. It is my path that they follow in many ways. Ye yata, in whichever, mam prapadyante, prapaddi means worship me, tani tata eva bhajamyam, I will bless them in that way. Mama Vartman means path. Mama Vartman, Anuvartante, they follow. Anuvartante means Anu means again. Or so there's pranayama, anuloma, viloma, going with the grain, against the grain. So anu shasanam, again the rediscipline. So anu means it's follow. Manusha, people. Partha sarvashaha, in many ways. Then he says, this is also a very important shloka. Bhagavan says, Kankshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha shipram hi manushe loke siddhir pavati karmaja. Longing for success in action, what do people do? They worship various deities. We saw that, right? In the third chapter, there is a deity for different forces of nature, sun, rain, all that, right? They worship other gods. For very quickly in the world of humans, the success result from actions. Okay, I have to interpret it because it's very confusing, this all these deities, and it's very common in India. There is the navagrahas, people worship Shani to get rid of their problems. They worship Yama. If somebody is very ill, they worship Yama. There are a lot of death. So what's the purpose of this? So what Krishna is referring to, Yajanta, he's talking about yajnas. So in the Karma Kanda of the Vedas, they prescribe certain worship rituals, which we saw as yajnas, right? And how do you worship? You do it for the greater good. So you perform, it's done in a, like it's called a fire offering. So in the fire, you offer, they chant mantras around a fire. So these are supposed, the vibrations are supposed to cleanse the environment and also have a greater good. And they also satisfy one's individual's desires. So if the person wants to be free of some illness, they do a yajna, an illness which has been troubling somebody for a long time, or their relative, they do this. And at the end, they distribute wealth, a lot of things. So they satisfy their desires, and they also take care of the overall good. So that is called a yajna. We saw that the entire evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati khayah agayurindriya ramaha mogam sapartha jivati. This wheel of life which has set in motion long ago, it says you don't do selfish deeds. Everything that you do, you also have to take care of the nature and others. And Bhagavad Gita is the book of common man. So in here, so Veda Purva. So the Veda has two parts. The Veda Purva has it's also called Karma Kanda. It prescribes various rituals. And we saw the reason, right? We first have even Karma Yoga we do for spiritual purification, cleansing the mind, and then Jnana Yoga. Similarly, the Vedas are also arranged this way. Karma Kanda rituals to get your mind fit, make your mind fit for attaining the knowledge, and then Vedanta. Vedanta is also called Upanishad. We've seen that it's the same word. It talks about jnana, about what this Atma is. The Atma and the Brahman, they're one and the same. In the context of the body, this all-pervading consciousness is called Atma. In the context of the universe, the same thing is called Brahman. The only thing, so all these actions, the rituals to get fruits, they're fine. They're prescribed in the Vedas. So Vedas even prescribe certain pleasures. All that is okay. But one has to remember the fruits of the karma are not permanent. Anityam. The fruits of the knowledge are permanent. And this Krishna, that's what is meant by in the shloka. Krishna very clearly says in the second chapter too, Yami mam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavadarata pata nanyat astiti vadinaha kamatmana swarga para janma karma pala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwaryam gatim prati. Some people uh, only have desires, kama atmanaha swarga para. They want to attain heavens so they can enjoy. And how are the heavens? Heavens are grand apparently. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam, very grand. So they want to attain heavens, janma karma pala pradam, and future births, nice births. So they worship all these deities and they may get what they want, but what they are missing is moksha. So that is what is pointed out in this shloka. And Bhagavan in the 44th verse of the second chapter, he says, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidiyate. Also, all they want is future lives which are good. There's nothing bad, but that's the only thing they want. And what happens in that? Their mind doesn't get samadhi. It doesn't get calm, and therefore it's not fit for attaining the nature of the understanding the nature of the Atma. Okay, now comes a very well-known shloka, and this is much misunderstood and has caused class divisions, not just in India, but class divisions have existed in every society. Okay, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaramapi mam vidya kartaramapyayam. The fourfold groupings of people based on duties born out of one's nature, guna, was created by me. Even though I am the author, know me to be the non-doer and know me to be unchanging and imperishable. Okay, chatur varnyam. Varna, it literally means division. So fourfold division based on people's innate. We saw this, right? We talked about this extensively in the third chapter. It's called swabhava. Swabhava is from the guna, right? When we talked what impels a person to do sin. It's all coming from the Rajo Guna Samudbhavam. We saw all that. So the gunas, people have different mental makeups. Based on that, their profession, their duties have to be chosen. Okay. And Bhagavan very clearly says that even though I am the author, I don't do anything. It is the gunas, they take care of that. So, okay, this requires a lot of explanation. Okay, we saw Vyavastha. Vyavastha, one, we saw Ashrama Vyavastha. Vyavastha means rules for proper arrangement and harmonious functioning of society. It is there in the Manusmritis, all the ancient texts, they talk about it. We saw what is called the ashrama vyavastha, the first shloka of the uh, third third chapter. Bhagavan says, Lokesmin dvivida nishta. Nishta here means a way of life. It's also called ashrama. Pura prokta maya naga jnana yogena sankyanam karma yogena yoginam. The twofold divisions are householder, grihastha, and renunciants. Renunciants are those, they're also needed because they're the ones who have more time for this knowledge. And they also have some duties, which is giving back to the society in terms of knowledge. A lot of the, some of the rishis, not all, they become renunciants. Shankaracharya was a renunciant. So brahmacharya and grihastha. Grihastha is householder, brahmacharya is a student. They belong to the householder lifestyle. Bhagavan simplifies the four life styles into two, right? So this is called ashrama vyavastha, four stages of life, or four um, ways of classifying how you live. Then the next one is varna vyavastha. It is the duties, your profession based on your gunas. So that now here is where the confusion comes. Bhagavan clearly says, guna karma vibhagashaha. Actions, karma action, guna action, born of one's nature. That is ideal classification, right? Because if somebody is very quiet, introverted, very the mind is very deep and thoughtful, those people, like, they can be scholars, like that. Some people are very they're like the alpha male, they want to protect people, they're like very strong. These people are like the kings, warriors, that so ideally the gunas, the profession follows your guna, your duty, or everything follows your nature, right? But unfortunately, um, sometimes it is a matter of convenience that um, sometimes people, they're born to somebody who's like a sculptor or an architect, and the child also takes up the same profession. So one can classify the society based on gunas, which is how it should ideally be done, profession based on gunas, or one can classify based on what profession they've gotten into, or by birth. So sometimes when you are born to so there's hereditary transfer of knowledge, right? Sometimes for certain sculptors, you especially find this in India, they have this great knowledge. And even in medicine, in Ayurveda, it's transferred from one family to another. So there's a famous pharmacy in or hospital in Kerala. It's called Vaidyaratnam, and it's a family business. So all this knowledge is transferred to their children, and so on and so forth. So by birth, okay, these are the three ways. Now let's look into each of this. So based on the gunas, it is called the four divisions. I have not explained what the four divisions are. They are called brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. Okay, we'll explain what this is. So based on gunas, it becomes guna brahmana, guna kshatriya, guna vaishya, guna shudra. Based on profession, karma brahmana, karma kshatriya, karma vaishya, karma shudra. Sometimes it so happens you get into a profession just because You have to support a family, you have to earn money, even though you like to do something. That's why a lot of people, when they retire, they really go back to something else. Um, it is based on profession. Then another classification based on birth: Jati Brahmana, Jati Kshatriya, Jati Vaishya, Jati Shudra. Now we will ideally, but Bhagavan says it should follow the gunas, the innate disposition, but it's not always the case. Classification based on gunas. Okay, a guna brahmana is mind is tranquil, is prone to intellectual activity, not prone to a lot of hard physical labor, not to external activity. Mind is usually a little introverted. They have we saw the three gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. I'm just giving some numbers: 60% sattva, predominance of sattva, less rajas, 30% rajas, 10% tamas. Let's say, just an example. And a guna kshatriya, these people are selflessly active. They're politicians, kings, or in those times. Nowadays, they're social workers. They want to change the society. They have a higher goal. It's not just their selfish needs. They have a higher goal. They want to save, protect, uplift society. 60% rajas, the intensity, the drive. 30% sattva, and 10% tamas. Why 10% tamas? Because they're selflessly active. The guna vaishya, these people you find doing trade, agriculture, business, very business savvy. And business, what does it do? It is for self-profit, right? 60% rajas, they're also very active. 30% tamas, but because it's selfishly active, it is tamoguna. We saw the tamoguna, that's the thing. It is selfish, it is dull, it doesn't see the big picture. So 30% tamas, 10% sattva. The guna shudra, so shudras, they're the ones, we also need people. Not everybody has to be the architect, the great idea person. We need people to implement. And sometimes we are architect for something, but we implement other things. So its roles get exchanged. Guna shudra, they just don't have the drive. So they just do what you ask them to do. 60% tamas, 30% rajas, actually 10% sattva. They are neither prone to intellectual or external activity. This is the classification based on gunas. Now, the karma brahmana. So, if people who are in intellectual activities like education, teachers, professors, research, even in those times it used to be scriptural teaching. Now it's science and other things. They are called karma brahmana. Their profession is all these intellectual activities. So it's called karma brahmana. They may not have the gunas. Somehow that they managed to get to become a professor. They want a secure job, earn money, so they become a professor in a well-established institution. So they're called karma brahmana. Karma kshatriya, they are in administration for whatever reason. Then karma vaishya, trade, agriculture, etc. Then karma shudra, or supporting role, less skilled work. Now the third classification we saw is based purely on birth. This is not ideal, but very often, even in the time of Krishna, it happens to, it's the most easiest choice for somebody. A craftsman's son or daughter, like I said, learns the trade from their parents. So it's called jati. Jati means birth. But they may not be naturally skilled at it, but by repeatedly doing, they become somewhat good. It is a matter of convenience. Now the question may come, which is better? So are the intellectuals better? Those who are doing intellectual work, are they better than the administrators and the social service people, the rulers, all that? And these rulers, they are better than the business people, and the less skilled workers, they're at the bottom. Is that what it is? The answer is, according to Shastra, the gradation is not by birth. Very clearly it's stated. And Bhagavan also has stated, it's guna. This is what I said, guna karma vibhagasha, but over time, by convenience or whatever, people fall into different positions beyond their choice to earn money or whatever reason. There is no gradation by profession. It doesn't mean a big professor, somebody who's a big professor, is superior to somebody who is doing just like cleaning the tables or something, very clearly. But there is a gradation by guna. A guna brahmana, one who, even though they may be cleaning the table, that person who has predominance of sattva is higher, is better than a guna kshatriya, who's better than a guna vaishya, because guna kshatriya has a lot of rajas, in passion, and passion sometimes can cause mistakes. So guna kshatriya, but they have 30% sattva because they have a higher cause, social workers. Then guna vaishya, the guna vaishyas, they are very passionate, but it's for selfish reasons. So guna kshatriyas are better than guna vaishyas. Then guna shudras, unfortunately, they have lot of tamas, which means the insensitive nature. We've seen that even all these Hitler, Stalin, all these people, that when the tamo guna is prominent, you become insensitized to the feelings of others. In this case, their case, they were very, they had a lot of passion also, but tamas is also, it's a very dull thing, and it's just less activity or poor choices. So this is the gradation. So the three ways in which we find the classification is based on gunas, one's nature, which is how it should be done ideally, but life takes other paths. It's based on profession, sometimes it's based on birth. So the duties of a person can be based on one's nature, based on a profession, based on birth. Okay, so is this understood here? All good? So this is kind of a complex topic which has haunted the Indian society and also societies all around the world in different forms. Okay, now comes very important shloka. So now Bhagavan is setting the stage for the next portion, which is Jnana Karma Sannyasa. So what is Jnana Karma Sannyasa? We saw that it is not just renunciation of actions and saying, oh, I'm just going to sit and meditate. No, it is internal renunciation of actions through knowledge. Even though you are doing something, it is the understanding that the witness principle is not doing that. I have to transact with the world, which is inevitable because I have this form. But the witness principle, the Sakshi Tattvam, is not the one doing it. It's like the electricity which enlivens. It is the light which provides light. Okay? Bhagavan says, Namam karmani limpanti, name karma pale spruha, iti mam yopi chanati, karma bhir nasabhadyate. Namam karmani limpanti. Actions do not taint me. So, for a lot of people, those who are not familiar with Sanskrit, some of these words, it may not make sense. But Sanskrit is generally, so you can Google this up, it's generally considered the mother of all the Indo-European languages, including English. Limpanti means taint or stick. Something that sticks and taints is called limpanti. If you look at the dictionary and type limpet, limpet is a mollusk which sticks on to piers and ships. So it just sticks on. So it is thought, some people say that the word limpet comes from this root. And many other words too, even atma, that's something which cannot be, it's the self, something which cannot be divided further. The word atom comes from that. Um, Mithya, which seemingly real, but it's false. It's myth comes from that. So many English words have Sanskrit roots. Then Bhagavan says, Name karma pale spruha. Spruha means longing, intense longing. I have no longing for the fruits of actions. Iti mam yobi janati karma bir nasabhadyate. Those who know me clearly in this way are not bound by actions. Now, you may ask this question. So how does this is so confusing. How does knowing Bhagavan make me pure? And we saw that in the previous one of the shlokas. Bhagavan says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. Those who know my divine glories, once they cast off this body, they don't get another body. They come to me. How is that? We saw that in detail last class, remember? Because once you know that Bhagavan, which is nothing but Brahman plus Maya, is that Brahman is the same as the consciousness principle in me. So those who know that the Brahman has no longing for the fruits and it doesn't do any actions, those who know, they also know that the Atma doesn't do actions. So they know that they are not bound. Once you know we are not bound, there's no question of rebirth. So this is how it has to be interpreted. Abhijanati. So Abhijanati. So Abhi is a prefix. It means know very clear. Janati is know. Those who know me very clearly in this way, karma bihi na sa bhadyate. Bhadyate means bound. They are not bound by actions. So Krishna is introducing the core concept of this chapter, which is freedom in spite of activity. So Krishna is going to talk about this in detail in 18 through 24. So this is called a Mahavakya. That is, the Atman is, Atma is like it is a witness. It's like the electricity which makes a fan rotate, a light bulb glow, but it doesn't do any action. The fan rotates, pushes air. It is because of its nature. So we covered the first portion on the avatara, incarnation of Bhagavan. Second is jnana karma sannyasa, inner renunciation of actions through knowledge. So throughout all this, the first 6 chapters, Bhagavan constantly is trying to pull Arjuna from becoming a sannyasi. He says, you have to be a householder and do your duties. Don't become a renunciant. So he's adding more information here to encourage him to be a grihastha while acting in the world, how you perceive knowledge. Because I told you, right, Arjuna will next, Bhagavan is predicting Arjuna's next question. He knows what question Arjuna is going to ask. He'll say, okay, you are saying knowledge is the final step for liberation. And this householder lifestyle, I have so many duties, less time for knowledge. How can I get liberated if I don't have much time for knowledge? So here Bhagavan says, do your actions with the understanding that you are the witness principle. That is the essence of this chapter, this portion, 15 through 24. Now it's all about actionlessness in action. So Krishna introduces this ancient knowledge practiced by ancient seekers of liberation while they were transacting with the world. They were kings. Krishna gave the example of Janaka. very busy king who became liberated by understanding this concept. Uh, Krishna is making it very clear Arjuna has to be in grihastha ashrama, which is householder lifestyle. Um, so in the previous, I told you about this logic, nahi ninda nyayam. And this is what Krishna is using. He will use it very strongly in the 6th chapter. He will, in fact, what nahi ninda nyayam means. Ninda means criticism. Na, he means not a criticism, indeed logic. Even though it looks like a criticism, it is not a criticism. It is to accentuate something by putting something down. So that is acceptable thing in the scriptures. So Krishna will kind of ask to seemingly put things down, and he was not telling everybody is like that, but he quotes these fake sannyasis. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudatma mityacharasa uchyate. Mityachara, hypocrite, or the one who sits karmendriyani, restraining all the actions, the organs of actions, but in the mind, that person starts thinking about all the pleasures of the world. That sannyasi is called a hypocrite. Mityachara sauchate, Bhagavan. So this is the logic. If you understand this logic, then you will know why Krishna is saying one thing here, another thing, because he's trying to uplift the common man. So the Bhagavad Gita is a book for the common man. So I said there's zero original teaching of Krishna. Zero. Krishna just left, right, center copies from Upanishad, and he makes it very clear in this chapter. I taught this knowledge long time ago, and now I'm just telling that to you. There's nothing new here. Okay. Evam nyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. Evam nyatva, having known me thus in this manner, even seekers of liberation in ancient times, Bhagavan says, Purvai api mumukshubihi are seekers of liberation. Purvai means long time ago. Even seekers of liberation in ancient times, they performed action. Kritam karma, they did action, knowing that I, or in fact, it's them that is free. So, therefore, indeed perform action. Kuru karma eva tasmat tam. Like that. Like what? Purvai purvataram kritam. Therefore, indeed, perform action in the same way people in the ancient times before you did. Purvai means long, people who live long back. Purvataram, as they did in the ancient times. Kritam, as they did actions. So, perform action in the same way that people in the ancient times before you did, knowing that the Brahman or the Atma doesn't perform action, it's ever free. But you are in this world, you have to transact with this world, so you have to act, but it's not the electricity which is, or the consciousness principle which is acting. So Krishna very clearly tells him, stay in grihastha ashrama, householder lifestyle. Kim karma kimakarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaah tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Even the wise seers, kavi means a seer. Kavinam ushana kavihi. So Ushana Kavihi refers to Shukracharya. In the 10th chapter, Bhagavan will tell, Bhagavan, it's Vibhuti Yoga. Bhagavan tells about all his glories. He says, of all the seers, those who could read the future, who know the past. I am Shukracharya. Shukracharya was the preceptor for the demons, and he apparently he could see things, he could foresee. And the story is that maybe we'll tell a small story before we'll come to this stuff. There was a guy called Bali. Bali was the grandson of Prahlada. Um, Prahlada is the child who Vishnu saves as Narsimha Avatara from his wicked father. So Bali was not a bad king. He was a demon, but he was a fair king. He ruled all three worlds. But the only problem with his was his ego. He started just conquering more and more kingdoms, and he thought thought that they were all his. So Bhagavan, all the gods, the devas, they went to Bhagavan and said, "Please restore our kingdom." So Bhagavan said, "Okay, I'll teach him a lesson." And he comes as this 7 or 8 year old child, little Vamana. It's a short, and even for a child, this is a very short child. And this child comes, a Brahmin child, and it asks Bali. So he's doing a big yajna. After the yajna, he's distributing wealth to all the lot of people, poor, the scholars. So when this radiant child, Brahmin child, comes, Bali stands up from his throne. He bows before this Brahmin child, and he says, "Oh, Brahmin, what can I do for you? What can I give you?" This child looks, and the child says, "I just want a little piece of land." Then Bali asks, "Tell me, I will give you 100 villages. Tell me how much land, huge fields I'll give you." You'd ask me where, how much. No, 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 no. I just want enough space to cover three of my little footsteps. So it's little footsteps of this child. Just three footsteps I want. That's all I want. Bhagavan. So no, no, no. You ask for something more. The child insists, "No, no, no. This is the only thing I want." And he says, "Okay, so be it." And just as he was about to say, "So be it," Shukracharya is the preceptor, pulls his vest, and he was about to say, "So be it," but he pulls him. And then he brings him, takes him aside and said, "That child is Bhagavan himself. Be careful about what you're telling." So because Shukracharya could see through things, he was a kavi, he was a seer. And this child, he saw that it was Bhagavan Vishnu himself. But Bali said, "No, I am giving, um, you know, my wealth to all these people, and whatever the child wants, I will give." So here I have to disobey you, my guru, but I have to do this. And he says, "So be it." This child, then it starts growing, growing. With 1 foot, it covers the entire earth. With the other foot, it covers the heavens. Then the third, right? It needs a place. So then it's says, "I want more space. Where are you going to offer me?" Then Bali says, "I offer myself." And then Bhagavan steps on his head, pushes him into the Patala Loka, nether worlds, so that the devas are free of him. But at the same time, Bhagavan gives him a boon. Once every year, you will come up from there, and people will celebrate because you've been a fair person. You've not been except that you hoarded wealth and you took away others' kingdoms, but you're not a bad person. You did a lot of good things. People will celebrate it. So once a year, he comes, and it's celebrated as Onam in Kerala. Okay, so that's the seer. I'm just told you a story. I promised, right? I'll tell you stories to keep you entertained. But so this is the seer. Kim karma, kim akarma iti kavayopyatra mohita. Even the wise seers are confused about what action is, what inaction is. Karma, akarma, action and inaction. I shall tell you, tatte karma pravakshami. I shall tell you about that action and also inaction. Yat jnatva mokshase ashubhat, knowing which you will be freed from ashubham, which means something which is inauspicious. What is inauspicious? It is not all the dirt and everything. It is samsara, this entire cycle of birth and death. That is referred to as um, inauspicious. Tatte karma pravakshami. Even though it says, I will tell you that action, Shankaracharya also includes, it goes without saying that he also means inaction. Okay, now the question is, who does the action? That is the important thing. Then Bhagavan adds one more. He says, Karmano hyapi bhodavyam, bhodavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanascha bhodavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. It's a beautiful verse. Gahana karmano gratihi. Bhagavan says, very deep and mysterious are the ways of karma. In the 18th chapter also, Bhagavan says, there's one verse which says, there is something called destiny or karma, luck. That is the one factor that is very in all the actions. So he breaks up the components of actions. Adishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratakvidam vividascha pratak cheshtaha daivam chaivatra panchamam. The fifth is called daivam, luck, karma, whatever you call it. All the others, adhishtanam, your body is needed, you need your prana, the ahankara is needed. But this fifth thing, this entity called karma, that is something which is mysterious. So here also he says, Gahana karmano gatihi. Gatihi means the destination, the path. The path of karma is very strange and deep. Karmano hi api bodhavyam. Karmana, here karma means prescribed karma, those prescribed by the scriptures. This has to be known. Bodhavyam means has to be known. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. Vikarmanaha means prohibited action. Vikarmanaha. So prohibited actions also have to be done, known. Akarmanascha bodhavyam. Inaction also has to be known. For the deep and difficult to understand are the ways of the karma. So now he's going to get into the core of this. We already saw a little bit in the second chapter, which is why I asked you to revise. This portion is considered the essence of the Upanishads. So there are a few other portions of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of the Upanishads. Upanishads don't talk about karma yoga is not the essence of the Upanishad. Bhakti is not the essence of the Upanishad. Ashtanga yoga, meditation, nothing. Essence of the Upanishad is this knowledge of the Atma. So Krishna has given an introduction. So because of all these portions where he's condensing the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita itself is called a Upanishad. Sarvopanishado ghavo dogda gopala nandanaha. All the Upanishads are like the cows, and the milkman is Gopala, Krishna. So this is also a Granthi Shloka. I told you what a Granthi Shloka, a knot is, right? Remember in the first class I told you, and I also told you in the second chapter, Vyasacharya, he wanted, when he wanted to compose Mahabharata, Vyasacharya is the author of Mahabharata. He wanted a scribe, like a stenographer, somebody who will take notes very fast. And the only person he could find was Ganesha, Lord Bhagavan Ganesha. So he goes to Ganesha and says, can you be my scribe? Ganesha agrees, but on one condition: you should not stop ever. You should constantly keep telling. Then that is a catch, because Mahabharata has 100,000 verses. How can I talk like non-stop? It's going to be difficult. I need some breaks to pass my breath, and I have to tell it in the meter, anushtup and thrushtup meter. So it's a poetry, right? So then Vyasa comes up with a counterpoint. Okay, I will tell non-stop if you only write what you understand. He puts a counter proposition, not proposition, counter condition. Okay, and Ganesha says yes. So here and there, Vyasacharya um, puts naughty verses, Knotty. It looks very twisted and difficult to understand. This is one such verse, and it's a very important verse. Karmanya karmaya paschet akarmani cha karmaya sabhuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krita. Karmani ya akarmaya paschet. Those who see inaction of the self in the action of the body. So it doesn't say body and all that. We have to fill that, because it's a naughty words, right? It just say karmani akarma ya pashet. Karmani, in action, akarma, inaction, who sees. Ya pashet means who sees. Pashyati means sees. So they who see inaction in action. But what inaction? Inaction of the self, atma, in the action of the body. And not just this. Akarmani cha karmayaha. And though they who see the potential action in the seeming inaction of the body. Okay. How do you explain this? Yes, Shakti, you have a question here?
No, after you finish this.
Okay. So this part is a little maybe needs a little more elaboration. Akarmani cha karmayaha. Akarmani means inaction in action. So or action in the seeming inaction of the body. This refers to, we just saw that somebody who is sitting in meditation, body is very still, but the mind is thinking 1,000 thoughts, which are the seeds for future action, because it creates desires. And they who are able to see these two aspects, Sa buddhiman manushyesu. They're wise among humans. Manusheshu buddhiman. Sa yuktaha. This person is yukta, means yog. See the word yoga comes from yog. Or the word yog comes from yoga. Yug. It means unite. So that sa yuktaha, that's a yogi. Kritsna karma krita. This person has done all that needs to be done. All the actions that need to be done, that person has done, accomplished everything. That's what it means. Okay. Now, Shakti, have a quick question here.
Could you talk about just a little bit about the granthis that we have in our Sukshma Sharira,
Yeah,
the three granthis?
yeah. So those, the chakras, the different, they're the knots, right? So let's do that during the discussion, because that's
Okay.
not relevant to this. The granthi is just a knot. Okay. Okay. Now we saw a similar granthi shloka in the second chapter also. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drishtontaha, panayo tattvadarshibhihi. There is no existence for the unreal, and there is no non-existence for the real. The ultimate truth of both is known by the seers of reality. Can you understand anything from this shloka? That's why it's supposed to be a Granthi shloka. Shankaracharya gives pages and pages. We already went through this in detail, but it's the same concept here. Here, it's in the context of Satyam and Mithya. Anything that is subject to change. Now we are looking at not just 1 year, or you're saying one day, nothing has changed in me, I look the same. No, in 100 years, you will be part of Earth, or if you're burnt, you're part of atmosphere, or in 120, whatever time. We are looking at thousands of years. So the you would have become a person and you would have gone into the environment. So there is no reality for the body, but for the consciousness, there is always the reality. Satyam and Mithya. Mithya means seemingly real, but it is not real. It is not permanent. Consciousness is permanent. And that is illustrated. We saw this exhaustively in the second chapter, but because it is so important, I'm repeating it again. Pot. So in Vedanta, the pot, it is called mithya, because when you break the pot and you powder everything, it just becomes again clay. It's just a form. It's called nama rupa. It's just a form. From you can use the same clay, you can just break it, dissolve, put it in water, dissolve it, and make an idol or a statue out of it. So the pot is mithya. It doesn't have a permanent existence, whereas clay is reality, satyam, the truth. Even seemingly, in this the example I'm just saying. Yes, Anuji, you had a
I've never
question?
heard the word. I had a quick question. You said the word mithya. I've never heard of that. Is it also the same as ritam?
No,
It's different. Okay.
Ritambara, no, there's nothing. Mithya. So if there's two words you need to know,
Yes.
entire Vedanta, it's Satyam and Mithya.
Mithya.
This
Okay.
is entire Vedanta is just this. Atma Satyam Jagat Mithya.
Okay. Thank you.
Then water and wave. Wave is also water, but wave, it comes and goes. It hits the shore and it's gone. We saw the tale of the two waves, right? One wave thinks, oh, I'm going to hit the shore, I'm going to die. The other wave thinks, no, I'll hit and then I'll come back and again it'll be formed in some other form. So wave and water. Similarly, body and atma. Body will come and go. The consciousness is always there. Okay. Shankaracharya gives elaborate commentary on this, pages and pages and pages and pages. So Atma, we saw that in the 5th chapter. This is why in the 2nd chapter, maybe we are running out of time. So the properties of the Atma, remember I put that in the chat yesterday. Atma has different properties of the Atma. Aprameha, it cannot be comprehended, which is why they give all these examples, because Atma has no properties. It is indestructible. Yes, Pratibhaji.
When you are mentioning Shankaracharya, which scripture are you referring to exactly?
So this is Adi Shankaracharya's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So he wrote, so his is considered the authentic and the original of the commentaries.
If you have a copy, could you share a picture in our WhatsApp group later?
So I don't have a copy, but Swami Paramatmananda, whose discourses we are following, he talks extensively about that wherever it's needed. So to interpret his commentary also, you need somebody like Swami Paramatmananda to do that.
And do we have like a YouTube for Swami Paramatmananda?
So I will put a link to the full the
Discourse.
transcription of all his talks, and also I will put a link to his talks. Okay.
Thank you.
Then Atma is sarvagataha. It is all pervading. It is nirvikaraha. We told body changes, Atma doesn't change. Atma is akarta abhokta. It's like the electricity. So this is where example over time. So now we have electricity example. Those days they had the example of light. Light doesn't do anything. In the presence of light, good and bad things happen. You cannot blame the light. Similarly, in the presence of the Atma, good and bad person can do good and bad things. It is the gunas, the mental composition, which does that. Okay. We also saw the story of Uttanka, the rishi. He is so angry that all the Kauravas, they died. So many people died. He's about to curse Krishna. Krishna says, hold on, don't waste all your tapobalam trying to curse me. And why was he trying to curse? Because he was saying, you could have stopped it. You, the Lord, Ishvara, you are responsible for this. But Bhagavan says, I just provide the light. In presence of light, good people have the choice. That's what the Manusha Janma is for. If you want to do bad things, you do. But I just provide the light. So like that, the Atma is, the body mind complex is enlivened by the consciousness, then it becomes ahankara. Atma is that because of the which the body mind complex is enlivened. Okay, so anatma and atma. Okay, satyam and mithya. Anatma is anything that is not consciousness. It's a very important thing. So we've already gone overboard, but I'll just stop after this. Inaction and action means Atma is like the electricity. It enlivens but does not cause action. Body is like the bulb. Some Swami Paramatmananda says these days, or even in the olden times, our body looks like a bulb. Or they used to use the word gatam. Gata shuddhi samacharate in the Hatha Yoga text. Maybe even it's for all those, even those days, like there were people who are not taking care of the body or something. I don't know. Anyway, so that's bulb. Then the filament is the mind. Electricity is like the Atma. There are many bulbs, but the electricity flowing is the same. The electricity in the grid is the same. Like the consciousness is the same. In the context of the body, it is called Atma. Fan rotates because of the electricity or potential difference. Don't say, but Atma is not moving. It's like the electricity. Don't say electrons move. That's why I use the word potential difference. So many fans are rotating, but the electricity is one. So another example is the wind. There's a lot of action. There's a beautiful shloka which is in the 9th chapter. Yatha kashastito nityam vayur sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matstani upadharaya. Okay, so with that, I think I should stop.